Greetings from beautiful Boone, North Carolina. My name is Kyle Jackson Holt, and I'm a senior nutrition and dietetics major at Appalachian State University. Just to begin, some of my interests, obviously nutrition, but beyond that, I'm really big into cooking. I love reading. I'm a huge history buff, and in my spare time over the past couple years, I've been working to rehab my 105-year-old childhood home. Something that sets me apart from other applicants to your DI. Currently, I am completing 150 hours of an undergraduate internship, a food systems management rotation at a local restaurant here in Boone. And this coming semester, or this coming summer rather, I'll be completing 150 hours of a clinical internship at the Charles George VA Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. I feel that this sets me apart from other applicants in that I'll be entering the internship with kind of a realistic picture, and I'll be more likely to be able to make an impact from day one. So for the first question, why do you want to be a Tulane dietetic intern? What are your expectations from the Tulane DI, and what do you hope to obtain from the experience? So my interest in the Tulane DI really, I guess I should preface that with my interest in New Orleans began first. And the reason I say that is a few years back, my uncle, aunt, and cousin actually moved to New Orleans. They moved uptown, and they live up off of Magazine Street. And so after the first time I visited them, I just immediately fell in love with the city. I love, the culture. There's just so many redeeming qualities. And so within the last couple of years, when I started looking at the different DI options, and I saw that Tulane had a program, I was immediately very interested. And I was lucky enough that my academic advisor was able to put me in contact with a former App State undergrad who had gone to the Tulane DI by the name of Brittany Sleeper. And Brittany had nothing but really great things to say about the program and the program director, and after that I was really just sold. And so as far as like what I expect from the Tulane DI, I expect the internship to be fast-paced, competitive, challenging, but I also expect to form a tight bond with my fellow interns, and I expect to finally get the opportunity to really put all those knowledge and skills to the test, and finally see everything together as like the big picture. Things I hope to gain from the internship. Obviously, I want to gain eligibility to sit for the RD certification exam. That's not all I'm hoping to gain. I also, want that real-world experience, and I really hope to gain and form a really strong network, a network made up of the other interns that I'll be working with, uh, you know leaders of the program, and also the site preceptors. And I'm hoping that that's a network that will benefit me as I try to advance through the field, and hopefully I'll get the opportunity to benefit others. And I really would love for it to be a network that sticks with me for years to come. As for the next question, why do you want to be a dietitian? Tell us where you expect to find yourself in your career after you complete an internship and in 5 years. So, as I mentioned in my personal statement on DICAS, my interest in nutrition really started very early. When I was a child, I often worked with my grandmother in the kitchen just cooking, and she had been an RD for over 35 years. And so as we would cook, she would kind of teach me little things about cooking methods and nutrition, and those messages really stuck with me through all the years. And so when I began undergraduate, I really knew that nutrition was the path I wanted it to take. And um, so, I mean, I love food, obviously, but I also really love the science behind how the food interacts with the human body. And I just don't feel like I can pass up the opportunity to apply that science in a way that I can be helping others improve their health and improve their quality of life. So after I complete the internship, I hope to immediately enter the field after getting my RD, um, ideally in a clinical setting starting out. And I would love to start out, somewhere in the New Orleans area. Um, a little bit farther down the road, within the next 5 years after completing the internship, I want to obtain my certified diabetes educator status through my continuing education. That goal kind of stemmed from what is a long history of diabetes that's plagued my family. Um, so I've always had an interest in, you know, learning more about diabetes and learning about its treatment and prevention. Becoming an expert in, that branch of nutrition would be very fulfilling for me. Um, within the next 5 years, I want to have at least begun the process of obtaining my master's in nutrition. I really would love to return to school, even if it's while I'm still working. And so I'd say that my ultimate, the primary focus of my future goals is career advancement and education. For the next question, have you ever felt uncomfortable in a work situation? What would you do if you felt uncomfortable during an internship rotation? Um, so yes, I've absolutely felt uncomfortable in work situations. Who hasn't? But one particular situation that stands out to me was when I was working in food service, and I had a fellow employee come in, and I'm guessing, maybe she was already having a bad day, but immediately once she started working, I noticed that she was being very, very rude to a lot of the customers, and I could tell that the customers were picking up on this as well, as some of them were kind of taken aback by her rudeness. But so I kind of tolerated it as long as I could, hoping that it would, kind of improve. Her attitude would improve on its own. Unfortunately, it didn't. Um, and, you know, I ultimately ended up going to the manager privately and letting her know about the issue. The manager took care of it. But, usually I don't really like to feel like I'm going behind somebody's back, but in that situation, it definitely felt warranted. If I were to face an uncomfortable situation in an internship rotation, if possible, I would try to handle the situation myself. I'm a person who likes to work things out, try to remedy situations. But if I felt that it was an uncomfortable situation that I didn't have the ability to sort out myself, I would definitely either go to the internship director or the rotation site preceptor. The next question is, describe how you prepare for a major exam. So the way I prepare for a major exam has been pretty much exactly the same throughout all of college. Beginning a week or so prior to the exam, I get together all my class notes and readings, and I just make a really big, thorough study guide covering everything that could be on the exam. And then throughout the week leading up to the exam, I will each night review, the readings, class notes, and the study guide until I get to the night before the exam. And at that point, I kind of just lock myself in my room and just go over those class notes and study guide over and over again until I can literally almost recite it all from memory. And so that's pretty much always been my process. And I know that doesn't work for a lot of people, but it works for me. Describe a situation where you felt you were treated unfairly and how you handled it. So this brings me to another work situation. I had just begun working for University Food Services here at Appalachian State, and I was hired to work at a made-to-order pasta bar. I was the newest and youngest employee. All the other employees had been there at least a year or plus, and so, when I started working, it was soon that I realized that I was kind of the one getting stuck with all the least favorable jobs, the jobs nobody wanted to do. And, I kind of put up with it for a little while, but, I respect seniority, but there's a point at which you're being treated unfairly and you have to do something about it. And I considered going to the manager, but I decided it would be best in that situation if I just handled it on my own. So I just was straightforward. I went and I just talked to the employees and voiced my grievances. And luckily, they were very surprisingly receptive. And from then on, the unfavorable tasks were definitely shared more evenly. Um, and so in that situation, I was really happy with how I handled it. I would say that one of my weaknesses in the past has been uh, being assertive. Sometimes I'm not as assertive as I should be, but in that situation, I was assertive and I voiced my concerns and they were heard. So that was a situation where I was treated unfairly, but everything worked out really great. The next question, are you better at working on many things at a time, or are you better at working on and getting results on a few specific things? Please give examples. So I've always been a very task-oriented person. I'm the kind of person who likes to pick one thing to accomplish and focus only on that thing until it's done and it's done the right way. That being said, um, when I'm asked to multitask, I have no issue with multitasking. Um, for example, in my current food systems management rotation, I am always asked to focus on many things at one time. It gets really hectic. It's a busy restaurant, uh, but I've never had an issue handling everything that's asked of me, even if it's all asked at once. Conversely, my process for writing a paper, for example, is much like preparing for a major exam. I lock myself in my room, I sit down, and I don't get up until I've completed that paper and I'm entirely happy with how it's turned out. So in general, if I'm given the option, I like to focus on one thing at a time, get things done. But if asked to multitask, I'm more than capable. Describe a challenge you faced in trying to work cooperatively with someone who did not share the same ideas. What was the result? So this brings to mind a situation about 3 semesters back when I was in community nutrition, and we were assigned a partner randomly, and we were asked to write a community grant proposal. And when I heard the assignment, I immediately knew what I wanted my grant proposal to be on, which was a community education course uh, educating on the importance of breastfeeding, and the program would target minority women of low socioeconomic status. And so as soon as I met with my partner, I let him know that this is what I really think we should do our proposal on. I'm passionate about it. This is what I want to do. And for whatever reason, and I still find this strange considering he was also a nutrition major, he didn't think that breastfeeding was important at all, which is still baffling to me. But so we didn't share the same idea, but uh, I was able to persuade him, and he agreed, even though he didn't have the same fire about the subject that I did. We started our project, and it didn't take long to realize that I was going to be the one doing the vast majority of writing the proposal. But I just put my head down and I did the work. And when we got back our individual grades for the project, I think that the distribution of work was very clearly shown. So I got the grade I wanted. The result wasn't exactly what I wanted. I did most of the work by myself, and my partner was not very cooperative. But I think that speaks to my ability to take adversity and turn it into a positive situation. But you know, unfortunately, sometimes you're stuck with situations or you're forced to work with somebody who doesn't share the same ideals as you. But that's something that I know that I will face from time to time throughout my time in nutrition, wherever my career path takes me. And so I believe that wraps it up for all the questions. Once again, my name is Kyle Holt from Appalachian State University. I just want to thank everybody at the Tulane DI for this opportunity, and I wish you all the best. So long.